Hey folks, I want to talk about horse racing and thoroughbreds because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about both of them. And let's start with horse racing because I don't think most people have a clue how it works. There's a small number of people out there that have a good idea, but most of them really don't understand horses well enough to actually understand how horse racing even works. Keeping in mind throughout the whole thing that there's a ridiculous amount of money at stake. It's a big dollar industry. It's a huge industry. Immense number of people that participate in it and spectate. So it's driven by money. That's what it's all about. It's like anything. It all comes down to money. But what people don't understand is that there are very, very few horses anywhere that actually love to run. I have seen one in my life that actually did seem to enjoy running. He actually liked to show up the other horses how fast he could go and run past them. But for the by and large, they just exploit the natural instincts of a horse. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh, horses love their job. They're bred to do it. They love to run. They love to race because that's in their breeding. That's what they're raised for." No, it's instinct. It's strictly instinct, and the breeding doesn't change the instinct in a horse. The other thing a lot of people say is, I've got a horse that it's very competitive. When I go out on a trail ride, it always wants to be up front. I've heard that story many times. And again, it's instinct. And I'm going to explain, if you understand horses at all, you'll understand this. But if, most people don't. Most people just believe what they're told. And that's, these are things that have been said over the years many times. Is that horses love to race, they're competitive, they like to win. No, horses don't give a crap about winning, they aren't competitive. It's strictly survival. And the horse's instinct to survive is to run. That's their number one mode of avoiding danger or hazards or predators or anything in the wild that's going to threaten them. It's hardwired into them. It's just incredibly powerful in them. And the horse that wants to be up front isn't interested in winning or competing because horses don't care about that. The only thing it doesn't want is it doesn't want to die. And if the horse is at the back of the pack in the wild, it usually ends up dead because that's the first one the predator is going to get. That's the first one that is going to be caught. So horses don't run because they love it. They run out of survival. And there's a well-known phenomenon amongst horses is how one reacts off another. And I just saw another guy do a video on it, on the very topic of how one mirrors another, and they'll mirror the riders too, but horses react off of other horses. If one horse runs, they all run. They don't stand around to look around and see why the one horse is running, because in the few seconds it may take to figure that out, they could end up dead. So they don't wait. So when the starting gate opens, they're not interested in starting a race. They're interested in staying alive. That's all that happens. The starting gate itself, it's a big metal monster that's trying to eat them. That's why there's so many problems in the starting gates. You'll countless times see horses that don't want to go in. They have a fit when they get in there. Not unusual to see problems at the starting gate in racing. Very common. And the reason is the horse just views that starting gate as a big metal monster that's trying to eat him. And when that starting gate opens, it's not trying to start a race, it's simply trying to escape from the big metal monster that's trying to eat him. It happens to open jaws for a few seconds, and I'm out of here. They don't care about racing. They care about survival. And when one horse runs, it only takes one to get them going. When one horse runs, they all run. And it's simple as that. And they, you call it competing, but they're not really competing. They're just trying to get up front because they don't want to be the last one because the last horse dies. Simple as that. It's survival instincts, and that's how horses operate. Not much different in dog racing. They use the instincts of the animal. They exploit the instincts of the animal. In the case of dogs, they're not running away, but they're actually chasing food. They're hunting that rabbit that's running out front of them, which is commonly used to get dogs to run. And the one that's up front gets to eat. The one at the back goes hungry. And eventually it might just end up dying. So that's how racing works. There are no horses that love to run. And on top of that, they got some lunatic on top of them. They're running for their life to begin with, and then they got some lunatic on top of them beating them with a whip. And studies have already proven, too, many times over, that horses that are whipped don't run any faster than ones that aren't. So If you think they need to do that in order to win, that's a bunch of crap too. They don't run faster when they're getting beat on. That just makes them all the more scared. That may make them run a little bit faster, but it's only running out of fear. That's all that's happening. So don't ever try and don't believe the line that horses love to run. They run out of fear. That's how horse racing works. The whole industry simply exploits the natural instincts of survival in a horse, and that's how a horse race works. They're running for their lives. They run out of fear. They do not love their job. Okay. Now, on the note of that, thoroughbreds, they get a very bad rap because as a breed, because they're very common in racing, because they are bred for speed. They're bred to be fast, which unfortunately in their breeding they're only concerned with being fast, so they end up with other problems in them, bad feet and such. But since most race horses don't race much past about 10 years of age because they're past their prime by then, the people that are breeding them really don't care if their feet are no good after that. And unfortunately, that's what you end up with in a thoroughbred. And most people think that a thoroughbred is a crazy horse, wild and crazy horse, because of what they're exposed to and what they see. And most people don't see anything of thoroughbreds other than what they see in racehorses. And if you ever see a thoroughbred racehorse, what you're seeing is a horse that is being kept unnaturally, and a very, very bad environment for it from a mental standpoint, which will make a horse hot and crazy. They're being fed foods that a horse should never be eating, that, it makes them run faster, but it does not do anything good for them. It makes them hot and crazy because of their diet. On top of that, most of them are only half trained. They aren't even properly trained horses. You see on the track, they are trained well enough to accept a rider and to run in a circle around a track, and that's about it. So if you see a thoroughbred on a track and you think that thoroughbreds are hot, crazy horses, well, the ones you're seeing probably are, but that is not a representative of the breed. The breed of horse is no different than any other breed of horse. The very first horse I ever rode was a thoroughbred Arabian cross. Now, both of those horses are famous for being hot, crazy horses. Bad breeds, temperament-wise, as far as most people think, but those are myths. They're stereotypes that are really, really unjustified, because I rode that horse probably 3-4 times a week for over a year, and I don't recall, thinking back on it, I don't recall that horse ever spooking even once. That was not a hot and crazy horse. Quite the opposite, in fact. Like I said, that was the first horse I ever rode. Wasn't a great beginner horse. She had all kinds of issues, but hot and spooky? No, she wasn't. She was not hot, spooky, and crazy. She had all kinds of other problems, but those weren't any of them. And she had none of the traits that are typically attributed to either of those breeds. So don't believe stereotypes, and don't believe what you hear about thoroughbreds. Don't believe what you've seen when it comes to thoroughbreds, because you have to remember what you're seeing. If you're seeing racehorses, is a half-trained horse that is fed a bad diet and kept in a very unnatural environment that creates the behavior that you're seeing. That's not the nature of the breed. That's how the horse is kept. What you're seeing is somebody's created that. That's not something that is a natural thing in the breed. There's nothing there. So racing, it's simply exploiting natural instincts. Horses do not love to run. They run out of fear. Thoroughbreds, don't believe the stereotypes. Don't believe what you've heard. Don't believe what you see on a racetrack, because that is not typical of the breed. And that's about it in a nutshell. So think about it. Horse racing and thoroughbreds, neither one are what you really think they are. So think about it. Do your homework. Do a little research. Learn a little bit about horses and horse behavior, and you'll understand fully exactly how and why horses race and run. And have a good day.